Welcome back to. Let me straighten this up here. Yes. Welcome back to Nick Lenz's novel review, episode number 72. Yeah, I haven't done one of these in a while. First time since July. Yeah, I looked up when the last time I did it, but it was actually July last time I did it. Yep. Okay, that's better. Yeah, this one I'm reviewing a Star Wars book. This is Star Wars Thrawn Treason, written by Timothy Zahn, taking place during the 19-year time skip, and also taking place during Star Wars Rebels. As for when during Star Wars Rebels, because they mentioned the fall in here, and my guess is at some point season 3 or 4. I'm not really sure because I haven't watched season 3 yet. I watched the first 2 seasons of the show. I'm watching it further than that. Now, the book itself features these particular characters aside from Thrawn himself. Tarkin's in here, Vader's in here a little bit, not as much as it was the last book. The Emperor's in here. Krennic from Rogue One is in here. Yeah, he makes an appearance. I think this is overall his second appearance in the novels, not counting the Rogue One adaptation. Yeah, only second appearance. We also see the debut of his assistant director, who actually was not in the movie. Yeah, he's a colonel in the military for some reason, yes. Oh, and also he apparently has this way he dresses in here is he dresses like Krennic, and he wears a cape too. And the thing is, uh, apparently Thrawn, with him being brought in, that probably gave the costume designers for Star Wars gave him the right to use the whole white uniform thing for Krennic. Yep. And the story for this one is this: basically, Eli Vento, who was Thrawn's one of his former proteges, he left the Empire to the Chase Ascendancy. Yeah, Thrawn sent him to the Chase Ascendancy because he figured out his talents would be useful there. Excuse me. And apparently, the Emperor basically had a cover story for this where he's accused of desertion and treason, despite the fact he actually has permission to be there. And it's not revealed until part into the book exactly what he's been up to since book one, where apparently he's been given rank of lieutenant in the Chase military. He has learned the language of Chase, Psi Basic, and he's been sort of basically given like the sign of basically look up like numbers, stuff like that, becoming good strategist, and becoming good friends with a good navigator. It's implied he might have feelings to this navigator, but the book itself doesn't really delve into it at all. I mean, and apparently the admiral herself basically has taken a liking to him. Yeah, and she kind of referred to Thrawn by his real name, Madru. Yes, that's Thrawn's name in the Chase Mill. That's what the Chase referred to him as. The Empire referred to him as simply Thrawn. Mostly put, only the Chase referred to him by his real name. Not in the case of the Empire. They referred to him as simply Thrawn because that was the name they could actually use because it's far more easier name to pronounce than his Chase name. And we also have there's a few different subplots in here, like the case of Thrawn's second command, Commodore Fenno. She basically had been put up for, let's just say, promotion. She was going to give the assignment of Task Force 231, but Thrawn blocked it. But he gives basically her a much better assignment at the end of the book. Yeah, and Thrawn has this thing where he loves to catalog stuff. He likes to have everything in thorough detail, which I think the Emperor really enjoys that his thorough detailedness of his reports. And the Emperor himself does appear in the book, but he only appears at the beginning of the book and he appears at the end of the book. Yeah, he's mentioned frequently the whole book, which is nice. Now he appears the first time he appears in the book, it's via holocam. Well, a HoloNet projector. That's the first time he appears in the book. When he appears, Thrawn, Tarkin, Vader all bow before him immediately when they see him. Krennic just basically gives him a smile and a polite nod. Yeah. And basically the story for this one is this. Like, despite like Thrawn is busy dealing with stuff going what happened in Star Wars Rebels, he's assigned to figure out what is going on with these particular beasts and why they're after shipments related to Project Stardust, aka The Death Star. It's referred to as Stardust the whole time. That's the official project name, but the name of the object, the building, is Death Star. Yes, and apparently Thrawn has a program of basically TIE defenders, and some of the money basically supposed to be used for the budget for this thing is basically threatened to be put to the Project Stardust. Excuse me. Yeah. Now, in case you want to know why it's called Stardust, watch Rogue One. That explains why it's called that. Krennic himself, this is by far the only. This is the only book I've actually read him in. Actually, was actually the book Catalyst. No, he was not in Rebel Rising. That was focused on the main character of the film. Krennic himself does get a few mentions. So he actually does physically appear in the book at least about 2 or 3 times. Simply put, he's simply a recurring character in the book. But basically, the main characters in the book are the following: Thrawn, Eli Vento, the assistant director, Ronan, that's his name, and I'm trying to think who else. Oh, I think that's it. Those are the ones. Oh yeah, and also Commander Veto is basically a regular character in the book. The Admiral from the Chase Ascendancy, who knows Thrawn, she's a regular character in the book, and Navigator Verloc, I think that's pronounced his name. Yeah, these are the ones are the primary focus characters of this particular novel. The recurring characters. The Emperor is basically a minor character in the book. I would say the recurring characters are the following: Tarkin. There is another Grand Admiral who's a rival of Thrawn. So he appears a couple times in the book, at least about 2 or 3 times. There's actually about 2 or 3 chapters dedicated to him toward the end of the book. Krennic. Yeah, just those three. Just Krennic, this Grand Admiral, the governor of the system basically that supplies security for the turbo lasers for the Death Star, and she appears once in the book. Yeah, she's mentioned frequently, but physical appearance wise, she only appears once the whole book. Yep. Excuse me. Thrawn is given a task to hunt down these creatures. Now, Thrawn does it his own way. Of course, he's basically forced to take with him Krennic's assistant director, Ronan, who apparently is also very good at his job being administrator. Yep. He also tries to figure out why these particular creatures are attracted to the ship. The reasoning for this is actually quite dumb and leads to a big fight between the Chimera, Thrawn's Star Destroyer, and Savitt. That's the name of the Grand Admiral, the other one, where it's basically Thrawn's ship versus Savitt's 4 ships. Yeah, but it's action. Once again, fully to light. Yeah, basically, and basically that's how it is when it comes to the end of the book. When they're basically investigating the crack, they run into the Chase Ascendancy ship. I believe it's called the Steadfast. Yes, it's called the Steadfast. And that's where Eli Vento is stationed at the moment. And they just happen to run into him by pure chance. They meet with each other, and they request a meeting. Come aboard the Chimera with Eli Vento. Though Ronan basically, he's like, "Hey, I want you arrested for treason and desertion." I was like, "No, don't worry about that. That was all cover because he got permission from the Emperor himself." But Emperor is in this cover, but for some reason my local library decided to put their 14A loan sticker on top of his freaking face. I'm going to talk about that when I take his book back to him tomorrow. And it's good though that basically Thrawn he still gets a good amount of focus in the book because the book has his name on it, but he's not the primary character. It's mostly split between Commander Vento and Eli Feto, Fato, her and Eli Vento. Yes, these two characters are pretty much the two focus characters along with Thrawn, who get a ton of focus. Ronan is simply put there as a supporting character, but he simply gets moved over to Eli Vento plot when they go investigate the whole piracy stuff on this particular world controlled by Governor Haddock. That's a pronounced name. And As for Grand Admiral Savitt, he is simply put a guy who out for himself. That's simply what he is. And he apparently is the one basically responsible for the whole Greta creature thing. While, and here's the thing, they have the Steadfast go after the base operations of them, while Thrawn takes on something deal with something internally. Well, basically, Grand Admiral 7 turns into a fight, and basically before he leaves, he leaves some of his TIE fighters with the Admiral under the command of Captain Dobbs, who's somebody Eli Vanto has worked with before, and yeah, they work together briefly. And the reason why Thrawn basically is intervening the whole Eli Vento subplot is because he finds out about Grand Admiral Savitt's plan. Though he's told this let's say off screen, mind you, and then of course that leads into the battle of the particular star system, which doesn't resolve a major loss of life. I mean, Chimera loses no lives at all. Mostly put, it's the Grand Admiral Savitt's basically people. Basically, they presented evidence to his crews about his treachery. Takes them a while, but then they turn against him and say, hey, I'm putting you under arrest for an inquiry. And they also run into a basically kind of an IA officer who's somebody that Thrawn trusts. That Eli Venture just happened to be by pure coincidence on a planet he was on with a couple of smugglers. Yeah. And the book ends at a pretty interesting note where we might get another adventure with Thrawn, but this, of course, is very good. I don't want to, just like with the first book, I don't want to spoil the ending for this book. This book is just purely fantastic. I give this book roughly a 10 out of 10. Nothing really bad about this book at all. And for Timothy Dawn's third book he's written for the new canon, purely fantastic. I'm sure Timothy Zahn, if you're watching this, I bet you're happy I didn't spoil the ending. But the ending basically is something good. And something interesting you probably have to just watch when you watch Star Wars. Also understand why in the world that he's doing what he has to do. We'll have a conversation. Now, I will mention he does meet with the Emperor at the end of the book. The conversation, basically, I will not detail exactly what happens in the conversation. It's just basically this, that it mainly deals with if Thrawn is loyal to the Empire. That's mainly, I'm going to basically spoil there. But the ending I'm not going to fully spoil. Yeah. Great book. I give this book a 10 out of 10. Really, really good. And this book got me hooked the entire time when I was reading it. And Timothy's on. If you're writing a book, I'll definitely read and review it. Because this book is purely fantastic. Okay? So yeah, that's it for this particular review. I have roughly about 3 more videos I'm hoping to do today. My next will be a review of The 7 Deadly Sins. And then it'll be review a new chapter for Case Closed. Okay? Just next view. Bye.